Okay, let's go. Close your eyes for a second. Imagine you're 85 meters below the ground. There's no light around you, your phone doesn't work, and you have no idea how many people are above you. The only thing you know is this: someone thousands of years ago built this darkness not for you, but for themselves. So why? What were they so afraid of that they went this deep? Ask yourself that question, because every one of the 10 places we're about to visit in this video starts with exactly that question. I'm not going to talk to you like a historian. I'm going to talk to you the way the ordinary people who discovered these places would: farmers, villagers, and once even a donkey. Because most of these 10 discoveries weren't the result of scientific expeditions. They surfaced by accident. A wall cracked, a pond dried up, the ground collapsed, and something that had stayed in the dark for millennia suddenly came into the daylight. Let me warn you, by the end of this video, I won't leave a single mystery unsolved. Behind every discovery, there's real science, real history. I'll give you both the fear and the answer. But first, let's go down into the dark. 1. Derinkuyu, the city beneath the ground. 1963, Cappadocia, Turkey. An ordinary man is renovating his own basement. He strikes the wall. It's not a wall, it's a hollow space. Behind it, a dark passage. He moves forward with a lantern in his hand. The passage descends, then branches, then opens into rooms, then more stairs. The man realizes what he's found isn't a basement. It's an entire city, underground. Picture it for a second. You break through your own house wall expecting to find a pipe or an old plank, and instead a city built for 20,000 people appears in front of you. What would your first feeling be? Fear or awe? Derinkuyu descends 18 levels, 85 meters, roughly the height of a 25-story building, except going down instead of up. All of it carved by hand out of soft volcanic rock. It could hold 20,000 people, not for a single night, for months, maybe years. The strangest part is the air. 52 vertical shafts, some reaching 55 meters deep, carry fresh air to every level. The deepest shaft connects to an underground river, so the water supply would never run out. And this system, after 2,700 years, still works today. Would the air conditioner in your own house last that long? Inside there were wine presses, grain stores, prayer rooms, even a school for children. Even the stables for animals were designed so the livestock wouldn't suffocate from lack of air. Kitchen smoke wasn't vented through one exit but spread across several. The goal was simple. No one on the surface should see the smoke and realize there were people living below. But the most striking detail is this. At every major passage, there are circular stone doors weighing 1 to 1.5 metric tons. These doors lock only from the inside. Once closed, no one outside can open them. Whoever built this city built it so that nothing coming from outside could get in. Here's the interesting part. The man who found this city called his neighbors before he called any archaeologists, because at first he thought it was just an unusually large basement. A city that once saved the lives of 20,000 people was used for a long time as one farmer's extra storage room. Sometimes history's biggest secret is sitting quietly right under someone's house. And Derinkuyu isn't alone. It connects by tunnel to the city of Kamakla, 9 kilometers away. To date, more than 36 such underground cities have been found in Cappadocia, and some researchers believe the real number could be over 200. The mystery unlocked. Archaeologists have determined that this city was started by the Phrygians in the 8th to 7th centuries BCE, then later expanded by Byzantine populations to shelter from Arab raids. So those doors weren't built for anything mystical. They were built purely to survive. People fleeing war thought of everything so they could hide underground for months. Air, water, food, safety. This is one of the most remarkable pieces of architecture that fear has ever produced. But one thing remains unanswered. Only 10 to 15% of Derinkuyu has been excavated and studied. The rest is still in the dark, and who knows what's waiting there. 2. The Longyou Caves. 1 million cubic meters of vanished stone, 1992, Zhejiang, China. A farmer is pumping water out of a small pond his family has always called bottomless. Just an ordinary irrigation job. The water level drops for days. Eventually, the bottom of the pond becomes visible, except there is no bottom. There's a staircase, descending, leading to a hall 30 meters wide. Think about it for a second. Everyone in the village had walked past this pond, children had played there, and no one knew there was a massive hall right beneath their feet. The Longyou Caves aren't natural, and they aren't a mine either. They're 24 large chambers carved entirely by hand, each between 1,000 and 2,000 square meters, with ceilings up to 30 meters high. In total, roughly 1 million cubic meters of rock were removed. To put that number in perspective, the Great Pyramid of Giza contains 2.5 million cubic meters of stone, but that stone was stacked on top of itself. Longyou is the exact opposite. The rock was removed from underground piece by hand. The marks on the walls are astonishing. Evenly spaced, equally deep, parallel grooves. The pillars are positioned so precisely that engineers say it can't be coincidence. The collapse risk was calculated in advance. Carving out a space this large in soft rock should normally cause the ceiling to cave in. It hasn't for over 2,000 years. The walls carry carvings of fish, birds, and horses. But not a single tool has ever been found. No broken hammer, no worn chisel. As if, once the work was done, whoever did it took every trace of themselves with them. The mystery unlocked. Construction is dated to before 212 BCE, a period when China's states were divided and at war. The most widely accepted explanation is that these chambers served as a quarry for a massive construction project, possibly an imperial palace or tomb. Records from that era are sparse because war destroyed the documentation. So where did all the removed rock go? The leading theory is that it was carried away by nearby rivers and reused in other construction, walls, roads. Simply put, those traces have been erased over 2,000 years. The mystery has been solved scientifically, but one thing still leaves people in awe. Seeing a project this massive carried out this quietly. If you've made it this far, these kinds of mysteries clearly interest you. So subscribe to the channel and like this video, because 3 even stranger places are coming up, and one of them might genuinely unsettle you. 3. Motala. Skulls mounted on stakes. 6000 BCE. Sweden, Östergötland. At the bottom of a lake, something had been quietly hidden under the mud for over 8,000 years. When archaeologist Fredrik Hallgren's team found it between 2009 and 2012, what they saw had no equivalent anywhere else in European history. At the bottom of the lake, 11 skulls belonging to at least 10 individuals were found. Some mounted on wooden stakes, others placed directly in the sediment. Cut marks on the skulls showed the flesh had been carefully removed with stone tools. This wasn't a random act, it was a planned ritual. Here's the strangest part. Inside one skull, fragments of another person's skull had been carefully placed. Think about that for a moment. Someone, 8,000 years ago, took a fragment from one person's skull and placed it inside another person's skull. Then put both of them in the water. What kind of bond existed between these two people that it was carried on even after death? Alongside this find, the bones of large animals, elk and wild boar, were also discovered. So both humans and animals were, for someone, part of the same ritual. Bioarchaeologist Sarah Gumason describes this find as a behavior not documented in any other culture. The mystery unlocked. According to research published in the journal Antiquity in 2017, this is considered a form of ancestor worship, a ritual for keeping the dead in contact with the community. The water likely represented the boundary between the world of the living and the world of the dead. This is evidence that Mesolithic hunter-gatherer societies held a far more complex spiritual worldview than we previously assumed. But exactly why one skull's fragments were placed inside another's in this specific way, who these two people were to each other, remains an open question for science. There's no written record explaining it because writing hadn't been invented yet. Sometimes the biggest mystery is simply that the answer was never written down. 4. Newgrange, 17 minutes of golden light, 3200 BCE, Ireland. People with no writing, no metal tools, and no wheels spend generations building a massive monument for the sole purpose of capturing, on just one day of the year, the exact moment the sun rises at a precise angle. Think about it. Would you keep building the same structure across 3 or 4 generations of your own family just for one single day? December 21st, 1967. Archaeologist Michael O'Kelly stands alone early in the morning in the innermost chamber of the tomb. Complete darkness surrounds him. He waits. As the sun rises, a thin beam of light enters through a small opening above the entrance, travels 19 meters through a pitch-black passage, and floods the burial chamber in gold. It lasts exactly 17 minutes. Then you have to wait another full year. O'Kelly later wrote that he was completely unprepared for the experience. He said nothing more. He didn't need to. Construction is dated to roughly 3,300 to 2,900 BCE, 500 years before the Great Pyramid of Giza. The mound contains 200,000 tons of material. Its 97 curbstones, each weighing 1 to 10 tons, were brought from 70 kilometers away. The white quartz facade stones came from across open water, 50 kilometers away, carried by people with no wheels and no metal tools. The angle of that opening, 133.2 degrees, matches exactly the angle of the sunrise on the shortest day of winter. The margin of error is less than 1 degree. Astronomer Clive Ruggles has confirmed through statistical modeling that this cannot be a coincidence. Here's the most remarkable part. The inner chamber has remained completely waterproof for 5,000 years, with no cement, no adhesive, not even modern insulation material. Every year, more than 200,000 people enter a lottery for the chance to witness those 17 minutes from inside the chamber, but only 50 are chosen. Would you want to be one of those 50 people, or would being alone in the dark scare you? The mystery unlocked. This wasn't just an astronomical instrument, it was also a tomb. Cremated remains of 5 people were found inside. Archaeologists link this to a belief in death and rebirth. The longest night of winter, the moment light begins to return, was seen as a renewal of the ancestors' power. So the question remains, how did generations of builders, without writing, preserve this precision? The answer is simple. Oral transmission and practical observation, carried on generation after generation. People tracked, marked, and tested where the sun rose, year after year. Researcher Anthony Murphy notes that this light box method has never been replicated in any other passage tomb. It was invented once, here, and never again. Perhaps whoever invented it took that knowledge with them when they died. 5. The Tomb of the Eagles, Orkney Islands, 1958, Orkney Islands, Scotland. Farmer Ronald Simison hit stone with his spade while working his land. It could have been just an ordinary rock. He doesn't report it to authorities. He simply keeps digging by hand for years because the land is his, and he's a practical man. What he finds is a 5,000-year-old stone tomb. When archaeologist John Hedges conducts a formal excavation in the 1970s and 80s, he finds the scattered remains of at least 342 people, mixed in with the bones of white-tailed sea eagles. The eagle bones show no signs of butchery, meaning they weren't food. So why are they there deliberately alongside human remains? The tomb was used for 750 years, roughly 30 generations. One generation carrying on a custom is understandable, but 30 generations who never overlapped with one another, maintaining the exact same belief with the exact same precision. This is a massive memory system preserved only through words and practice in an era with no writing. Think about it. Does the belief of your ancestors 30 generations back still continue in your own home today with the same precision? The mystery unlocked. The most widely accepted explanation is that bodies were left out in the open before burial and the flesh was naturally removed, likely by the eagles themselves. The community may have seen these eagles as their protective spirit, perhaps even as guides that led the dead into the next world, and for that reason buried the eagles' bones together with the human remains. The question is, why did this belief suddenly stop after exactly 750 years, around 2400 BCE? Archaeology doesn't fully know yet. Maybe the climate changed. Maybe the community fell apart. But 30 generations maintaining the same ritual is one of the longest examples of memory possible without writing. We've been through 5 places: a city seeking shelter underground, a million cubic meters of stone whose trail vanished, skulls buried at the bottom of a lake, 17 minutes of golden light, and people buried together with eagles. Behind each of them stands real science, real history. But I'll admit, to me, none of these quite earn the title of strangest next to the 5 we're about to see. Which of these 5 unsettled you the most? Let me know in the comments, because in the next part, I'm taking you even deeper. A catacomb with 20 kilometers of tunnels holding 500,000 dead. A room that turned the human voice into a weapon 5,000 years ago. And a tomb carved from stone with millimeter precision under a 70-ton weight. If you enjoyed this video, hit like now so part 2 reaches you, because we saved the strangest part for there.